My name is Jennifer Huber. I did my 200 RYT through JID as soon as I moved here. I moved to the Tampa area 2 years ago in April. And when I moved here, I knew, thank you so much, I knew full well that there wasn't a Baptiste studio and that I wanted to bring my love of Baptiste yoga into Tampa. So therefore, I came to JID. I started the 200-hour RYT program immediately, knowing that I was taking the first step into becoming fully actualized, to be the yoga teacher that I desperately want to be, so that I can give back what I have gotten from yoga practice. I have a blog at gentechyoga.com. I have a Twitter and Instagram, the whole 9 yards, where I post, when I'm teaching classes or just whatever I'm thinking about. I blog it at Gentech Yoga about some of the things that are contained in the slide deck as well. So I reached out to some people on Facebook and I asked what would be interesting or useful for yoga teachers, and I've also picked up some insight as I've gone along with common things that I see that are issues. So I made this agenda of maybe it's obvious, maybe it's not obvious. Password management, how to keep your account secure so that your password doesn't get compromised, how to manage multiple passwords, cloud storage. You don't want your laptop hard drive to crash and you to lose all of your data, all of your notes, your bio, your paperwork, anything you've created, photos that you have for teacher headshots or whatnot. How to store that stuff in the cloud so that if your hard drive dies, you can recover your data. Music in class, music not in class, how to handle that legally, what's officially acceptable, what's not, and I say officially according to the, not the RIAA, but the music management people. I can't remember what they're called, but I have it in the slide notes. How to back up your phone, how to organize your phone, so if that's what your single point of information is, so that you can be organized and have all of your contacts backed up in the cloud, so that if your phone dies or you lose it or what have you, you can get all of that data back. Because a lot of us operate primarily out of our phone. It's where we either stream our music from, we play our music from there, it's got all of our pictures, it's got all of our data, and if we lose it, how do you recover? So I'm going to address that. Using online tools to get organized. I'm going to talk a little bit about social media and how to take pictures, edit pictures, how to create the things that you see on Instagram or Pinterest or whatnot. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about creating content. So as a teacher, do you want to create audio classes? Do you want to create video content? Have you thought about how you want to share your love of yoga? Because you can contribute to the online community with your passion. So, to get started, best practices for passwords: 12 or more characters, should be uppercase, should be lowercase, so that you can have a combination of special characters. Symbols and numbers also help. Passphrases or sentences like Old MacDonald had a farm, some sort of complex string that you can add special characters in. You can replace letters for numbers, and it makes the passwords harder to crack. And when passwords are cracked, a thing called a rainbow table is used. It's basically a giant database of all passwords that have ever been compromised. And the software uses this giant database of password information to automatically, through the software, try and see if it has a match to your password. So if you use things like password or names or simple things that don't have capitalizations, it is much, much easier to have your password compromised. It's not somebody sitting at a computer. It's software out there that you just feed these password databases into and attempt to crack accounts. So that being said, if you use the same password at Gmail or Yahoo or eBay or PayPal, you're letting yourself be open, because that's that one email address and that one password that you're using to log into multiple places, so multiple sources of information of yours could be compromised. If you have stored credit card data, that could also be compromised. I recently got an email, I think it was from Prana, and no, what email it was, they sent me a letter because they had stored my credit card information on, and their database got compromised. So therefore my debit card, my name, my mailing address, my password, all of that stuff have been compromised. And if you don't use some sort of password management software, you would either have to write everything down, which is another source of loss of information. You could potentially have all of that data lost across multiple logins. If it's Prana, it could be Lululemon, it could be anywhere else like Victoria's Secret, anywhere Gap, anywhere where you have your information stored, somebody could steal your identity or try and crack other accounts with it. So, how long does it take to crack a password? Well, if you only have 4 letters, it's less than a second. If you have 10 letters and you use capitals, lowercase, and numbers, you can see the length of time that it takes to crack a password goes up exponentially. And we've all seen things in the news where Yahoo got compromised, and there was some other one that I read about recently where their database of all of the usernames, all of the email addresses, and all of the passwords got compromised, and all of that data continues to add into what the hackers use to crack your password potentially. So I highly recommend don't use the same password as Instagram, that you use on Facebook, that you use on your email account. And there are lots of free password management tools that you can use. Some of them restrict you to only being able to save, say, like 12 passwords or 15 before they start to want to charge you. Because the more you rely on the software, well, clearly there's a financial benefit to use the software. I personally use 1Password. It works on my phone, it works on my laptop, it works to back up my database of passwords to Dropbox so that I have it synchronized across all of my accounts. Some people like LastPass. These are a few of the ones that I'm familiar with that have been used. I have a comparison so you can see what the cost of each of the plans are, and this will be a PDF that I'll give to everybody after, so you don't have to write everything down. This is just a reference chart that I found. So your mileage may vary. Others are cheaper. Some do autofill of your information so you don't have to fill out forms again and again and again with your name, street address, and all of that jazz. Some of them will tell you whether or not your password you're creating is strong. Some will auto-create passwords for you, which is genius in my opinion, because I couldn't tell you what my Gmail password is. It's like 50 characters long and like random gibberish. So if it gets compromised, that would be amazing, first of all, but I don't have to worry about any of my other accounts also being compromised because every account I have has a different password. The only downside is that when I was traveling abroad, I was using a phone, if you've heard in the news, where the border agents have been taking people's phones and wanting to copy all of their data off of them. When you come across the border randomly, that's been happening. Well, I bought a generic like iPhone 5C that uses the same SIM as my regular phone, so that when I traveled abroad, just in case I was the random take and there was no data on my phone to take. So the only downside was that I didn't load the phone with Dropbox. I didn't load it with my 1Password. So I couldn't log into any of my other accounts even if I wanted to, because I don't know what the passwords are. So in that situation, that's what I wanted, because if I was asked to, log into like my Twitter account, my Jennifer, Lucille Twitter account, I couldn't because I don't know what the password is. I only had certain accounts logged in for that reason of crossing the border. So, yes.
Just a quick question. So I do use one, but it's like a plugin or extension to Google Chrome or like Firefox or whatever. So then I find when I'm on my phone, like if I need to log into something, I still have to remember the password, so then I still end up making like the same password. So it defeats the purpose.
To log in for my phone, there's I use Dropbox on my phone. There's the 1Password app for the phone, and if I need to get my password, I could just go over to 1Password and copy it and paste it into whatever it is, the app or the web UI in my personal phone. So
I was wondering, because I have one password. Like, how do you do that?
Yeah, so the browser has the little mini plug-in, then there's the app itself, and then there's the mobile device app. And I'm certain that it's not just 1Password that has those different options. That's why, and it's not in this comparison chart, but I'm sure that other password management apps have the same functionality, the browser, the laptop, the mobile device app, so that everything works together and can synchronize all of your information across multiple devices. Some of them may have family plans so that it could be cheaper if you have more devices that are on the same plan. Others may work from Mac to Android to Windows, like if you have a Windows laptop but an Android phone, or an Apple phone but a Windows laptop. Some of them may have that kind of versatility as well. I'm not sure what the specifics are, but this is a primer. Do you have any questions about anything that I said about passwords or password management before I get into cloud storage? Okay, cool. So cloud storage is a way to basically have the same files, and I won't say the same data because it's not going to be your operating system that's backed up in the cloud. But there are options. You could do that. There are places where you could basically back up your laptop to the cloud, but it's going to cost money. And this is specifically what I'm talking about, is any kind of files that you create, whether it be MP3s, Word documents, PDFs, EPUBs, any kind of file that you store on your computer. How to keep a copy of that in the cloud. Basically, it's like an off-site storage, if you will, because if your laptop dies, you can still connect to your cloud storage service, whether it be Box or Apple's iCloud or Dropbox or anything like that, and your data's still there, even though your laptop dies. You can synchronize data across multiple devices. Say if I have Dropbox installed on my phone and my laptop, I can access the same files. I can attach files from my Dropbox instance from my phone to emails. I don't have to go straight to my laptop to do it because it's out here. It's out in the cloud, and I can access it from different ways and still move that data where I want to move it. If I want to attach a picture that's not on my phone, it's in Dropbox, I can go to Dropbox, download it, attach it to the email. I'm not tied to using the laptop. In the same vein, your data is not tied to your laptop. You don't have to oh, I didn't bring my computer today. I don't have the whatever file with me. I'll have to wait till I get back home and then remember to send it. It's there. You can access it from multiple ways. It can also potentially free up local hard drive space because there's a way to set up selective synchronization where you don't want everything that's in your cloud storage to be on your local laptop. Like you can put it there initially, and then you can turn off the synchronization so that the files are just stored out in the cloud, and then you're not keeping them on your local hard drive because maybe you don't have enough space. I know I have that problem. I'm like a data pack rat. Again, it's accessible from any computer. If you know your cloud storage login password, you could use a friend's web browser or whatnot to log into your cloud storage account and then access your files just like you would from your laptop or your phone.
How vulnerable is that information?
Again, complex password. You can read the reports and the FAQs on the different cloud storage options. I have been using Dropbox for what feels like a bajillion years, at least 6 or 7 years now. I've had a paid account with Dropbox. There's comparison reports online about different security methods that they use to hash your data and to hash your key so that you can't be compromised. I just made a list of the different ones, and these are the numbers that you see on the screen where it says Amazon Cloud Drive 5 gigabytes. That's what they give you for free. This is where you start at for free. With Dropbox, you can get an extra 500 megs for every friend that signs up with your link that you get when you get an account, so that you can get more storage if you know people that don't already have a Dropbox account. So I think you can have, you get 2 gigs for free, and then 500 megs for each person that you sign up. Google Drive gives you 15 gigs out of the gate. There's lots of different options. Again, the variation from one to another are what type of devices does the app run on? Does it run on Mac, Windows, Android? You know, what do you need it to run on? What is your smart device? What is your laptop OS? So that's that, and then how much it costs, and when would you need to pay, would be different for everybody. So I mean, yeah.
One more question.
Sure.
My mom recently had that thing happen where they kidnap all your information and then hold it for ransom. Does that...
This would not be affected because it's cloud storage. So she got a local, basically a virus, if you will, that it basically was like, what was I can't remember what it was called, but yeah, where your screen just has the picture on it, it says pay us Bitcoin, whatever, to unlock. That's an actual virus that was on the operating system that was taking over her operating system on her local machine. So the cloud storage would not have been affected yeah, yes.
Why would you choose Dropbox over Google Drive? I mean, I know you said you've just been using it for years, but do you see any benefit? I mean, Google Drive has 15 gigabytes.
No,
Right?
no. I would look at the actual deep dive comparison and look at a chart between the different ones. I know that there was something that came out, or there was something that was said. I don't know how true it was when Google Drive came out, so please don't take my word as, written in stone. But there was something in the license agreement when you signed into Google Drive like years ago that made people think that Google had some sort of ownership over the data that you were storing in there. So I was like, I don't think I'm going to store my stuff in there. And I didn't read any further into it, and I already had a Dropbox account at that time. The further we go into the future, the more cloud storage options are going to be, the cheaper they tend to get because storage space keeps getting cheaper and cheaper every year. I don't know, I just picked a horse and ran with it, really. I mean, iCloud storage is a thing that's been around for a couple of years now that I think is turned on by default when you set up your phone. So you may find that you're running out of space there and maybe need to find a different solution for storing things. Like, I think iCloud is great for storing your contacts, your calendar, your notes, all of that kind of stuff. Pictures, the storage for pictures adds up quickly. So maybe a different storage solution for your pictures would be something you'd think about.
iCloud is very cheap. I think I'm paying, I don't know how much storage I'm getting, but I can store everything on it. And
Cool.
I think I'm paying like 99 cents a month.
Cool. Yeah. So everybody's got a different, I store just well, I did initially store ridiculous amounts of stuff in Dropbox because the paid account was like a terabyte of stuff. But
How much is that one?
it's $99 a year. Yeah.
Google Drive is like $20 a year for 100
Yeah.
gigs. That's the next step, I think.
But you get like a terabyte for Dropbox.
Yeah. I just like the flexibility of the
100
select.
gigs should be a terabyte, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
A thousand.
1,000.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so you're getting less.
Yeah.
100 gigs is, I mean, for normal folks.
Is a lot.
That's
Is
a
a lot
lot.
of storage. Yeah.
So I don't have everything flipped over to this. I have 17 gigs on Google Drive. I'm just getting to where I need to upgrade. I mean, I've got my dissertation work. I've got like a ton of stuff, pictures. I've got all this stuff, and I'm just getting 17 gigs. So if I go up to 100, I mean, it's gonna take me years to fill that.
Yeah.
Even if I flip my music over to back it up and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
100 gigs is still a lot, just to make your own choices.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
write it out.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
It's all being Greek to me. If I wanted
That's why
to
I'm
do
here.
this, yeah. Like, are you gonna tell us step by step how you? Because it means none of this.
Exactly. So Amazon Cloud Drive is, if you have an Amazon Prime account or is Amazon account, you're probably, the cost is going to be different. You could just stick the words Amazon Cloud Drive into a search bar. It doesn't have to be Google. It could be Yahoo search, whatever. You get what I'm saying. Dropbox, you would just go to Dropbox.com. Google Drive is probably like Drive.com. You could search the internet and find these, and you can also do like cloud storage comparison and get different reports. Like Tom's Hardware is a big website that will compare computer stuff, whether it be monitors to computers to USB keys. So you'll find the same sort of sites coming back up whenever you compare computer stuff against one another, whether it be cloud storage or actual hardware. Okay, now let's click over to music. Yoga Alliance has negotiated, the ASCAP is the organization that requires public places to have licenses to play music. And Jen and I talked about this a little bit briefly. Apparently, when I did some research for these couple of next slides, apparently the ASCAP was cracking down on yoga studios and gyms that were playing music. Probably, it was a 2014 where a lot of the news articles, where even small places were getting letters saying you need to have licenses to play music in a public space because it's considered a public presentation, and therefore is tied into having to have licenses in place to play the music so that the artists get royalties. So that being said, I was not aware until I did the research that there's business accounts for Spotify, Pandora, and you can also buy the license through the Yoga Alliance. And I'm saying this is just so that you're legally above board and not going to be hit with a letter of copyright infringement. That being said, I know all of us, well, I'm assuming that all of us have a Pandora account or a Spotify account or either that or have like local MP3s or what have you on our phones that we use to play during class. So what do? You can either flout the law, use your personal streaming account. You could either load music onto your phone in MP3s or FLAC or whatever file format we're referring to. I've just made it MP3 just for simplicity's sake. You can purchase the music if you wanted to be above board with having the music purchased legally. That doesn't mean that it's actually legal to play it in a studio. But that's neither here nor there. I've already left that conversation. We've moved on to legal music versus illegally obtained music. And purchased music can come through iTunes, Google Play, Amazon. There's multiple different places online where you could buy music. There are also different places where you can find music. SoulSeek is a free torrent-based site where you can download music from. Citify is an interesting thing that will allow you to turn Spotify playlists into MP3s. And save them. KeepVid Music Player is another option which will allow you to stick in the URL of a YouTube video or whatnot and get the music out to separate the audio from the video. There's a paid version. There's also online versions, but I found that the quality options that it allows you to download are pretty lacking. Like the file size, the options that it gives you are not so great, and that means that the sound quality is also not going to be so great, because if the file size of the thing is smaller, you have less data of the audio, so it's going to sound worse. You can also use something like anything to MP3 converters to convert to MP3s. There's also a debate on whether you should play music or not play music in a class. Some students like it, other students don't like it. Different types of yoga don't use music, like Baptiste studios traditionally don't play any music. Iyengar studios don't play music. I don't think that traditional Bikram studios use music either. It's just your breath and the instructor. So, did you have a question? Okay. So playing music, you can have local files on your phone. If you have local files on your phone, then you don't need to worry about streaming. You don't need to worry about using your cell phone data plan. You don't need to worry about how fast the Wi-Fi is or is not, because you're not tied to any of those restrictions. It's just right there on your phone. You can either play it over Bluetooth, like we have the speaker out in the front room that does Bluetooth, or you can plug straight into the audio jack and just play straight from your phone. If you stream the music, do you have a paid account? Because if you don't, there's going to be commercials. Nobody wants that. We've all been in classes where you're like, oh wow, I guess they don't have a paid Pandora account because there's a commercial. You can create playlists for streamed, and I'm probably telling you stuff that you already know. But if I'm not, it may be new to you that you could follow other people's playlists, other people that have already created playlists. There are yoga studios that publish their playlists, and you could just use those. You don't have to make your own playlist. If you don't use any music, well, then you're freed up from having to stress about, is the playlist good? Are the students going to like it? Is that song going to come on that's got the F word in it that I need to stress about? And if there's no music, then you can hear whether or not the students are breathing, because the breath is the most important thing on your mat. The breath, and then after that, the drishti. And I understand, bless you, I understand that students kind of want to get out of their head and maybe have the music because it gets them out of their head. But I personally want students in their body and allowing the body to quiet the mind through breathing and movement. But that's just my opinion. The cons of playing music, you have to either buy the music or find the music. You have to have a paid account if you don't want commercials to play. If you want to create an awesome playlist, that takes time and energy. If you want to find playlists, again, that takes time and energy. So this is just all like just.
So the Yoga Alliance thing, what all does that actually protect you from? Because you would still technically, legally need to have the business accounts for Pandora, right?
Technically, yes. If
Because
you were
there's-
playing,
I've heard certain songs are on the business account compared to like personal.
That
because
would
they
not
don't
surprise-
have the license.
that would not surprise me. So if you're paying for the Yoga Alliance license, I would think that that would cover you if you were playing just music, just like
Your
local.
own
Yeah,
playlist.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. I think it would cover you in that instance, and it's basically you're paying the tax man. You're like contributing, like you're throwing money at it so that you don't get sued. Is really
Right.
what it comes down to. Yeah.
And I think like the artists get money or something.
Probably like a fractional amount of, yeah, exactly, a fractional amount compared to supporting your artist either by buying their music or if your artist has a Patreon account or whatnot that you could contribute to. I think that's a more direct way to get money in the artist's hands nowadays.
So couldn't we just have like an iPod with like music?
You could, yeah.
That we've already bought without being like.
But you would still be subject to the potential of having, it's not technically legal. Because it's a public place, and I'm just. This is just like I'm not telling you what to do or what not to do. This is just like a whoa, hey, I didn't really know that kind of thing that I
Would
found.
liability lie with the teacher, or would it, if you're working with a studio, would it lie with the studio?
That's probably something that I definitely can't answer. I don't know. I don't know. I would think that it's really hard to say. I would have to dig in and start looking and see if there's been any cases that have been filed because it's like this really strange gray area. And I was surprised to see that the I think it was ASCAP was actually going after studios in 2014 and 2013. I don't know what the big deal was then, but I haven't really found anything online in the news since then, dated
They
since
pick
then.
and choose anyway,
Yeah,
like they pick the
yeah,
industry that
totally.
they're gonna go
Yeah,
after
totally.
and
Like
Yeah.
a couple of years ago, they went after all the breweries.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
That's how I know about it because I worked at Southern and Kelly told me like they have the Pandora for business, and that's when they got it because it is expensive.
Yeah.
And they waited until they heard they were going around. And they might have gone to Southern too. They were going around to everybody, like all.
That's
local
crazy.
breweries.
Yeah.
So now, on your question, so the $6,850 is just the license, and then you would still have to get a
Business.
Pandora business thing. So you'd have to pay Pandora, and you'd have to pay the $6,850.
Well, if you were just buying the licensing through the Yoga Alliance, yeah, that would just be for anything other than
Okay, I
Spotify or
see.
Pandora. But if you were just going to get a Spotify business account, then you wouldn't need the Yoga Alliance license. It's like one or the other. Yeah.
Depending on what type of music you're playing.
Yeah.
What is the 99 media player?
Pandora also requires you to buy the media player, so it's a device that you actually install into the studio or the space where the music's going to be being played through. So the media player is probably like where the music actually comes from, like that's like your streaming device. It may also be a thing that listens for the music that's being played to fingerprint match, to play into the licenses. You know how you can use Shazam or what's the other one? The orange one, the orange app where you can figure out what the song is. It may be a device that does something like that to audio match for licensing royalties payout. I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, I was surprised that there was a thing that you also had to buy.
Yeah, it's a whole nother way to access it too. It's like a web browser special number that goes to that, and that's how you access it. You can't just access it through the Pandora app.
Got it. Cool. Okay. So, planning playlists. If you're planning a playlist, you could think about aligning the tempo of the song with the asana energy. Are you trying to create a chill class, a yin, a zen type class? Are you trying to create some sort of fiery, energetic, uplifting? What's the theme? What's the asana energy that you're trying to bring to the room? Do you want to use songs with lyrics? Do you want to use songs without lyrics? I personally like to use songs that don't have words because I'm the words in the room, creating the cues and setting the pace and the tone. And I find that when I play playlists that have songs with words, that my brain gets taken out of what I'm doing and saying because I'm listening to this song that I know the words to. do you want to play music in Shavasana? Some studios do, some teachers don't. I mean, this is all totally, this is just a big question mark to put out there. I would recommend if you create a playlist, use the playlist for your home practice, do your asana practice that you've designed for the class to the music, and see how it lands in your body. How did it feel? Did it have the desired result that you were hoping for? Did you notice that maybe that song you really like just didn't fit when you're standing in Eagle? Like it just doesn't work? Like maybe it's a great song, but it doesn't fit what you were feeling in your body when it was playing. So just a thought. Spotify playlists are great. I mean, I have a Pandora account, but it's more like, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think of Pandora more like a jukebox. Like you kind of set it up with an artist that you like, and it just kind of randomly plays things that are in that vein, correct? That's what my experience has been. I don't think that I'm not sure that there's a way to make a Pandora playlist. No. Spotify has playlists. So I've created Spotify playlists. I follow other people that have Spotify playlists. You can search for friends and whatnot on Spotify. And again, this may be stuff that you already know, but I thought I would start with like a default of like maybe you don't know this. And there's a lot that I don't know that you guys probably do as well, because you definitely use these tools in different ways than I do. So I'm sure we could all learn from one another about how we use this stuff that's available to us now.
The updated Pandora version, you can make a playlist of
Cool.
all the songs that you've liked
Cool.
previously. So.
I did not know that. Thank you. Thank you. So you can find playlists that are listed under genres and moods. I have some Spotify playlists that I created the little bit.ly links, and bit.ly links are shortened versions of URLs so that you don't have the big long URL gibberish that you have to type in. You can just type in bit.ly, and then I made these shortcuts for the Spotify playlists that I've created that you could check out if you're interested. Some of them have words, some of them don't have words, some of them are for 60-minute classes, some of them are 75. So I just figured I'd share that with you guys. iTunes playlists are things that you can make to have the data on your device so that you can use iTunes to create the playlist from the music that you have on your machine and drag it to the iDevice, whether it be an iTouch or an iPhone or an iWhatever, so that your playlist would be a local thing on your device, where it's, where you synchronize your songs from your laptop to your phone physically over the cable or over the Wi-Fi. So I figured I'd put in how do you do that? Because not everybody knows how to make an iTunes playlist. So there are much bigger and more involved tutorials online, granted, but this is just a simple reference on how to make an iTunes playlist. For Android playlists, it's a little bit different. You have to open the Google Play Music app and then add to playlist, and then you can organize it that way. If you have an Android phone and you use Google Play to create playlists. Okay. Now, let's move on to backing up your phone. When you lose your phone, you tend to be that person that posts to Facebook that says, hey, I lost my phone, everybody send me your data again. And with the tools that are available nowadays, there's really not a reason why you should lose all of your data when you lose your phone. Because there are, it goes back to the cloud storage, to use like Gmail or Google Contacts or the pictures in the apps. There are different ways of backing up all of your data. You can use iTunes if it's an iDevice to back up the apps, to back up the operating system, to back up all the stuff that's on your device. So if you get a new one or lose it, you can just connect to the cable to the laptop and push all the data back to your device. Backup options are in iTunes. You can encrypt your backup. This is probably stuff that you're familiar with. You'll be able to see how much of the iCloud storage is being used. Like over here in this picture, you can see how much data you've got left, and you can see what things are using your iCloud backup. So like maybe you don't really want the Safari tabs to be backed up. Maybe you don't want the news stuff to be backed up. Maybe so you can pick and choose so you can make the most of your backup capacity.
I learned the hard way to not forget that password.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Exactly.
That's stressful.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, because if you forget that password, you can forget it. You can't back up
They
the
can't
data.
help you.
No,
Apple
no,
cannot help you if you
no.
forget your encryption password.
Yeah. Yeah, so you would just not be able to restore the device if you forget the password that you used when you encrypted the backup. You could be hosed. Android backup options, there's lots of different options for Android because of the nature of Android devices. It's kind of like a wild, wild west, if you will. There's different apps that will back up your data. There are different apps that you can use that will back up your system settings, your SMS or MMS. An SMS is just simple message system. It's just text. It's just ASCII text. MMS is if you send pictures back and forth. And some apps will back up one but not the other. So keep in mind, if you're using an app to back up your Android stuff, you need to know whether or not it's really backing up all your stuff or not. You don't want to get to the point where you're using it to restore and you're like, oh shit, this has never been backing up any of my, picture text. So all of the pictures of my friends or my dog or my cat or whatever are now vanished because I was relying on the fact that they were in there and not in my pictures folder or anywhere else. And everybody's going to use something different. These are just ones that I picked out of reports on the most liked or the most popular Android apps. And I have Android devices, but I don't use them often enough that I'm really in depth which one's better or best, or haven't really used them in the same way that I have the Apple stuff over the years. Google Apps will allow you to have multiple email addresses funneling into one inbox so that you don't have to log out and log in. Say, for example, I have, my regular Gmail, my jennifer.l.huber Gmail account, and then I have the Gentech Yoga Gmail account. I can have both of those email inboxes funnel into just the jennifer.l.huber, so I don't have to log into different accounts. And again, this may be news, it may not be news, but it can simplify your communication in as well as your communication out. So you won't miss emails in this account because you're in this other account. You can get it all in one place. And there are tutorials online that tell you how to do that, but I wanted to communicate that was possible because you may not know it's possible. You can also similarly have multiple calendars. If you have multiple Gmail accounts, you're going to have multiple calendars, and you can set up different calendars with separate permissions, meaning my personal Gmail account may not have a public calendar, but my Gentech Yoga email account will have a public calendar so that I can use that public calendar on my blog to show when I'm teaching and where. You can back up your contacts so that your contacts are synchronized with your Gmail account or your Google account so that your contacts are not physically residing on your phone. So if you lose your phone, all your data's gone. You would just log into your Gmail account or your Google account on your phone and your contacts would come from the cloud. Google Docs, Google Sheets are ways to keep data readily handy. You can also collaborate with other people on Google Docs and Google Spreadsheets and share the doc with them so that you can collaborate. Say if you're working with somebody, for example, on a podcast or a class description, you could share it as a work in progress and then maybe be on a conference call, whether it be a Google Hangout or a Skype call or something like that, and be both working on the same document and see their updates in real time. It's a cool way to collaborate with somebody and see what they're typing at the same time that you're typing, and it shows who's doing what. So you can, and there's a million different uses for things like that. Like you're saying, your dissertation, you could have somebody proofread it and edit it or create notes, and it would show up in a different color so you could see their notes in this document online. Okay, we are moving into the social media portion of this. What could you share online? Some people share cute little pictures with text over it to advertise their class, to talk about where they're teaching and at what time and what to expect. You could share your schedule, like I said, with the public Google Calendar. You could share audio recordings of your classes. You could also share at the end of class, any upcoming events for the studio where you're teaching. Or if you're running a workshop, you could share, what are the other workshops that you've got coming up, whether it could be online or in person. Then that begs the question, well, how often should you post? If you only teach once a week, you could post a couple of days before you lead your class. If you teach several times a week, then maybe you'll have a theme, and you'll just publish the monthly theme or the weekly theme for whatever class ideas that you have as you're going forward. I mean, it's completely up to you, but maybe give it some thought about how often you would want to share, who would you share with, how would you share, is it going to be Instagram, is it going to be Facebook, is it going to be all of them? It could be Pinterest. And this also leads us down into the pro or con of yoga selfies. It could inspire someone to try yoga. It could also turn somebody off from trying yoga because it looks unrealistic and, oh, I'll never be able to do that. I'll never be that awesome, that cute, that skinny, that whatever that we do with our self-judgment. It could also educate others on, what's possible. You can see, like, if you've seen the before and after comparisons of somebody taking a picture of themselves doing a pose in, 2012 versus 2015 and now today, and you can see with their daily practice they've gained extra strength and extra flexibility as they've developed over the years. And maybe you don't see that unless you take pictures and look at the then versus now. Some people say, and I tend to agree with this, that just because you have an awesome yoga selfie, that's not necessarily yoga. That's not necessarily the sweaty physical asana practice. That just means that maybe you're flexible enough to put your foot on the back of your head. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you're strong. Flexibility is not strength, and strength is not flexibility. The two things are not always found in the same body at the same time. Sometimes they can be intimidating. I mean, if you see people standing on like 2 fingers with their foot up in the air, it's like, whoa, that's pretty major. But me personally, I don't know if I would go to that person's class, because maybe that's just what they do. Maybe they just show off. Maybe it's kind of intimidating to have that be what and each person's totally different. Some people would be like, yeah, totally, I want to go to that because I want to know how to do that. So I just thought that I would bring up the concept of yoga selfies and give some pros and cons, and everybody has their own opinion, and whatever works for you, go for it. Be yourself, speak genuinely, share freely, drop the hiding, because we all have, and I started out saying at the beginning of today, we all have the self-judgment that I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not pretty enough. People are going to find out that I don't know what I'm talking about. People are going to find out that I'm ugly, or we all have that at our core. We all have that, and we cover it up in different ways. And sometimes we post lots of yoga selfies because we have that I'm not good enough, and we're seeking the likes and the input that we are really okay. So there's a million different ways to look at this, and I just wanted to briefly touch on it. There are people there are photographers that are specifically yoga photographers. The biggest one that I know of is Robert Sturman. He was recently in town. I have no idea what it costs to have him take pictures of you, but he did have some sort of schedule published where he was at some sort of Florida beach recently, or is coming up. There's something like that I read, and some of the local teachers went and had their picture taken professionally by Robert Sturman. But there are also Tampa photographers, and there's a few that I Googled, one that I know in person, that are Tampa photographers that have done yoga specific photo shoots, because it's different than wedding headshots or kid photography. It's different to get a really nice backdrop and the shape and the lines and the lighting for yoga specifically. The person that I know is John Wolding, and I was put in touch with him by Mia, who was friends with him, and we all had our pictures taken at the end of the yoga teacher training in his studio. It was just a simple white background with a mat with a little piece of plexiglass to give the reflection of the mat and the person in the plexiglass to make it look like that Photoshop thing, but it was all in the camera when he did it. It was pretty cool. So again, information to share. These are people that do take yoga pictures. Of course, you can always use your phone or a camera to take pictures of either yourself or things. If you use an iPhone, the device already has the ability to do a self-timed photo. There's a delay of either 3 or 10 seconds, and the camera will only take one photo at the end of the time delay. So you may miss the shot because it's only going to take one. So There's also the self-timer in an Android camera where you can either delay it 2, 5, or 10 seconds, and again, it only takes one photo at the end of the time delay. Well, you may not be in the pose at that point. Your timing may not be, you may not be able to set up the camera with the 5 or 10 seconds timer and then nail the pose and take the picture yourself, so that there are self-timer apps that you can use that will take multiple pictures. They will take a picture every 5 seconds, every 10 seconds, every 15 seconds. There may be audio feedback so that it will beep down and then you hear the shutter click, so you'll know when the picture is being taken if you wanted to do this. If you don't have somebody to hold the phone for you, you would have to rely on a self-timer app to get the shots that you want yourself. There's different ways of propping up your phone. There's Gorilla Pod holders, there's clips and clamps and stuff to hold your phone so that you can do this yourself. If you wanted to take a time-lapse video for Instagram, you see those time-lapse videos of people taking classes. Like this is one that I shot when I was in a studio in San Jose, where I just leaned my phone up in the window ledge, and knowing that I was going to drain my battery down as I was taking the time-lapse photo during class. But I came there with 100% battery, so it was fine. I knew by the time it was done that my phone was going to be dead. So time-lapse setting will allow you to create an animated GIF like this, which you could use for a million different purposes online, or you could use the video for Instagram, and I did. I published the video to Instagram, and I made sure to use the @ of the account for the studio and the teacher's, hashtag. I didn't know she had an account or whatnot, just to say awesome class by such and such teacher at such and such studio, just to give them a shout out on social media because it was a great class. But similarly, you could use this if you were doing a home practice, if you wanted to use that flow time-lapse maybe for an advertisement for a class you're teaching, so people could get a feel, a cute, short feel for what to expect when you get to class. It could be a way to share your practice with people. Android, similarly, sometimes some phones have time-lapse built into the camera, which I thought was interesting, and other phones don't. So depending upon the type of Android device you have, you may need an app, or it may be built into the phone. That was news to me. I didn't realize that there were so many hardware differences for Android devices. But then I listed some apps that do that type of timed time-lapse photography for Android.
Lapse It isn't the best thing. I've used it, and it's probably like one of the worst ones.
Yeah, and it's just one that comes up as, So, try it out, and if you don't like it, delete it and move on, Okay, social media. There's like 10 zillion different places where you can share your stuff online. Maybe you use Snapchat, maybe you use Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. If you want to create an online resume, if you will, like a more official, serious kind of bio place, LinkedIn is the place for that, because LinkedIn is definitely more professional, it's more straight-laced. And I think of LinkedIn as like an online resume. When I think of Instagram, I strictly think of pictures. Twitter could be used for just sharing text. You can, of course, put pictures in it too, but by and large, it's mostly text. You can blog in WordPress or Blogger. They're both free. If you wanted to start a blog, it doesn't have to be fancy. I don't have any kind of special theme. I just have a free theme on my Blogger account. I haven't done anything super jazzy to it because I'm not trying to monetize anything. It's just me that I'm sharing. Vimeo and YouTube are two different video places. And I say video places where you can share video. Vimeo is a little more artistic. People post documentaries and things to Vimeo, and Vimeo paid accounts allow you to upload more video, like more longer videos. There's a restriction to the amount of data that you can upload per month with a free Vimeo account, but the UI is cleaner. It's a little more slick, a little more stylish looking than YouTube with the ads and all the junk off to the right and the auto playlists and all that other cat videos that show up at the end. Vimeo's a little more in the same line as like LinkedIn. It's a little more upscale, but it's still free. Tumblr, we've all seen Tumblrs. It can be anything from naked people to food. It could be anything. But the interesting about Tumblr is you can also search by hashtags. Twitter hashtags, Facebook now has hashtags, Instagram, Snapchat. I think most everywhere hashtags can be used. And do I need to elaborate on what hashtags are, what you use them for? Okay, so a hashtag can be anything. A hashtag is kind of like, you could think of it like as like an adverb or an adjective. Anything that you wanted to use to describe something, like first world problems, things like that, or like Tampa Bay yogis, or like if you're posting a picture to Instagram, you can use, and I'll just use that because it's a simple one, you can hashtag it with anything. You can hashtag it with like a pot of flowers. You can hashtag it as feet. You can hashtag it as like clouds. And all that does is gives kind of like metadata, like a description to that picture, which is then a hashtag that you can click on, and then you can see all of the other pictures that have been hashtagged with that word. It doesn't have to be anything. You can hashtag like from boring, like hashtag pen, hashtag cat, to Seminole Heights yoga, to hashtag whatever, like if you create a blog or you create an Instagram account, you could have like Gypsy Soul Fever, you could create your own hashtag to describe whatever it is that you're expressing.
So if you just type in a hashtag, they can automatically click on it?
Yeah, and you can similarly search for hashtags and see what people are talking about. Like you can look for hashtags of like your favorite recording artist, or a film, or clothing designer, or color, or location. I mean, any. Yeah. Any word of anything that you're interested in, you can look and see what are people saying, what are people sharing that they're describing with this word or phrase.
You can do anything.
Like file folders.
Yeah.
Is it in a picture or a
Yeah.
into a folder?
Yeah.
And then it's a folder everybody can put things into. You have
Yeah.
one picture in a multiple folders. So then you search a folder.
It's kind of like that.
Keywords with a number sign in front of it.
Yeah.
But you run it all together, no
Spaces
spaces.
a person.
Yeah, no space.
Yeah, the @ sign is used to mention somebody's account. Like it's like their name. It's like they will get a message when you @ mention them. Like if you use that in the Instagram write-up, you @ and you find their name. When they open up Instagram or they get push notifications, they will know that you mentioned them.
So if I put @Mickey, I'd be like, hey Mickey, look at this thing about hashtag cat.
Yeah. Does that help? Because we've seen.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like on the periphery of understanding.
Yeah.
But it's okay.
So anything that you want to describe something as, like if people go to weddings now and like you just make up a hashtag, like maybe like the couple's first names and like wedding and like give it the date or something. It's just so that everybody can identify the pictures or tag the pictures with that data, so that you can go see all of the pictures that everybody took that tagged it with that information.
So
It's
if
just
you want that one picture to be associated with all those other phrases that you mentioned, like it's a picture of you doing a handstand, hashtag handstands, hashtag I love yoga, hashtag yoga every damn day, yoga, just love, just hand, like
So,
whatever
yeah,
you want,
yeah.
it'll lead back to your picture and then other pictures that have used that tag.
Yeah.
So if you click on any of those, it goes to that same.
It'll go to, click on, go ahead and click on one. It'll go to all the pictures.
In the world
that people
that
put
have been
hashtag
tagged with
on.
that word. So if you make your hashtag super specific to your brand or your blog, then only the pictures that you are publishing will be findable, will be collected with that hashtag. Right?
Or like for here, if somebody comes here and
JD.
they want to like take a picture, you can do hashtag JD or hashtag JD yoga, and you'll see just a bunch of pictures. There's not going to be very many JD yoga other pictures if they're not related to here. Type thing.
You can also @ mention,
Yeah.
so that, yeah.
Mention too, 'cause we have a JD account.
So, but if you don't know the person or the place or the whatever's @ thing, like you're not looking it up at the time, you can just hashtag it. And if they're following social media, then they will be looking to see if anybody's talking about their place of business or their venue or whatever with that hashtag, and then engage with the person that shared something from their place. And then it creates that customer loyalty. It creates that engagement between the business or the business owner and the person that took it upon themselves to say, hey, I had an awesome time here at the whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then you say, awesome, cool, thank you, glad you had a great time. And they're more likely to come back again. And it creates like a person-to-person connection.
Easy way to do word of mouth.
Yeah, totally. Word of mouth, yeah. But now it's word of hashtag. Word of hashtag. Okay, so managing your content. When I talked about all of the different places that you can share, chances are you don't want to find yourself into a situation where you're feeling like you need to create content for Twitter, and then you need to create content for your blog, or you need to create content for Instagram. There's all these different places. You don't want to be backing yourself into this corner where you feel like you have to do all of this stuff in single streams, right? So that oh God, now I need to post to Tumblr, and now I need to post to Facebook, and now I need to. You can create a lot of work for yourself, or you can use tools that will auto-publish content, and you can pick and choose where you want to auto-publish content. Say if you post to Instagram, you can also cross-post to Facebook. If you post to Twitter, you can also post to your blog, and you can give some thought to what you want to put where and have it replicate to someplace else, because you may not want everything to be posted everywhere. Cross-posting to all platforms gets boring, because if I follow you on Instagram and I see the same freaking pictures on Facebook, I'm like, oh my God, please, I've seen this picture like 4 times today. So give that some thought. I was talking to Jen about this, and she was saying that she has statistics that says that you could lose 35% of followers if you post the same stuff across all platforms. It just gets boring and people tune out.
Now, do you truly lose them, or do they just shut themselves off from the other 3?
Yeah, they could.
Yeah,
They
right,
could.
That they're
They
still
could.
following
They'll
you
stop
on the
following
one.
you on one.
Yeah.
But if you want to put something
You don't
important
know.
on there,
Yeah.
then they won't see it because
Yeah.
they've already unfollowed you. This came from my marketing guy. He owns a big advertising company in Chicago and did our website and everything. And he said, don't post everything. So all of them, like choose
It just gets boring.
schedule on Facebook and pictures on Instagram and something else. Oh, hey guys, I had a blog
Yeah.
post.
Yeah.
Put a link to that on something else. So you have them coming to different platforms and following you in different places, but you're putting different content on different.
For me, as a social media consumer, if you will, like I consume social media, if the person or the account comes across as like super salesy or like super sponsored, I check out. I'm like, whoa, that's real cheesy. Like even the cute little dog Tuna melts my heart. That shit got real fucking sponsory, and I'm like, gotta check out, Tuna. I dig your face, but it's getting too salesy, and I'm not buying into like the Tuna lifestyle. And that's really what some of them turn into. It turns into a thing where they want you to consume whatever it is they're selling through hashtagging it or mentioning it, because they got free stuff, they got free leggings, they got free whatever, and they mention it. And it's a freaking ad now. And if the account, like if the Twitter account only ever just publishes like stuff, like auto publishes stuff, I want to see engagement with people. I want to see a communication. If I mention a restaurant, I really dig it if the restaurant actually responds back, like somebody's looking to see that I said something cool about it, and they're like, cool, thank you, I really dig that you did whatever, so that it's personal. It's not just a big machine of like stuff, like buy my stuff. So engagement, having a conversation. Twitter is a huge place for conversation. If it's not conversational, then it's just a frickin' billboard and it's boring, right? Who cares?
I feel like Twitter does more feedback
Yeah.
than anybody on
Yeah.
Instagram.
Yeah.
Like, I can message big companies and they'll message me back and
Yeah.
write something that's like, oh shit.
Yeah, you can actually get
But on
problems
Instagram, they
solved.
won't.
No, yeah. Instagram seems to be more of just the marketing. But Twitter, yeah, you can totally complain about something on Twitter, and if you use the right @ for the business or the hashtag, they're on that because they don't want negative word of mouth to be out there floating around without them having done something to respond to it. Yeah, totally. Okay, now that we're taking pictures and we're sharing pictures, what are you going to use to edit your pictures? And again, this is going to be a PDF that I'm going to give out, so you don't have to write absolutely everything down. And the apps that you're going to use are going to be different if you have Android versus iPhone. the same stuff. Sometimes the app is the same across both platforms, but then sometimes the app has not been developed for an Android platform or an Apple platform because the operating system is completely different. And the app developers have to spend, you know, X amount of time developing for this customer base versus the other customer base. So I've seen a lot of people locally using the Ripple app to create little animated posts, little video things where things slide in and like jump up, and it's visually compelling. There's different photo editors. You can use things to overlay text. Like if you want like a little block of thing and like overlay text about I'm going to be teaching here, there, and whatever, that so that it sticks out in the picture, it doesn't blend into the background. You can, you know, use all kinds of filters to create different color themes if you want something to be overly red or yellow because that's the color that you prefer for your logo. If you've got a blog, like if you're thinking about color themes, you can work from that angle. Like there's a studio, bless you, like a studio owner in town that their color is purple, so their pictures tend to be overly purple-blue, so that there's that continuity with the color of the studio, the color of the logo, and you see that in the pictures. It jumps out. There's a consistency there. So there's also different apps that do different photo effects that could be compelling if you wanted to make like a background to write text over, so it doesn't necessarily have to be a picture, it could be a texture. You could take a picture of like beach sand and run it through a couple of different filters and have something interesting to like then write text over that doesn't look like anybody else's picture because you processed it enough that it's just, it catches your eye because you haven't seen it before. Okay, making content. Are you going to record your classes? Are you going to record the audio of your classes? How would you do that? How do you edit the audio of your classes? And how do you record video of you teaching? I've written 3 different blog posts because there was a question that was asked, like, well, how do you do that? I don't understand how you record the audio of your classes. So I wrote a couple of different blog posts. One where I talk specifically about how to record the audio, different devices that you can use to record audio. Right now I'm just using like an old iDevice. You could use an iTouch. There's like a million different gadgets that we've got laying around in drawers that don't work with the latest operating system, but you could still use it to record audio. Your friends, family, relatives could take your audio class, even if you're not in the same city. You could share with other people. Ask them for feedback on how your class landed with them. I know it's not the same as being in a studio with other people and the community that's created when a yoga class spontaneously forms, when you have multiple people there to breathe and move. But you can still get valuable feedback on how your words are landing. Do you tend to rely on one word a lot in class and you're not aware of it until somebody else takes it and is willing to give you that constructive criticism to make you a better teacher so that you're not reliant on saying the same thing all of the time? And editing audio, this will lead into maybe contributing your content to places online where you could get paid for teaching audio classes. It's possible because there are places out there that you can submit your audio recording to. Video recording, like what does your body look like when you're teaching? How are you holding yourself? How do you come across? You may find if you record a class of you teaching and you watch it back, you may find that your body language is really closed, you fidget a lot, you don't engage with the students as much as you think you do. It could be really helpful as a teacher to see what you look like when you teach. Like, do you pace a lot? Do you tend to be rooted to one spot? Do you use your hands? Do you not use your hands? I would encourage all of you to record the audio and record the video of you teaching and look at it. Take your own class and then watch it. How do you land? Because if you're not teaching in a place with a bunch of mirrors, how do you know what you look like? How do you know what your body language is doing? Maybe you're freezing up and like closing yourself off and you don't even know it. So if you create content, you can potentially sell that content. You could potentially sell the audio classes that you record. The studios could potentially sell audio classes of teachers that are recorded. If getting paid for teaching, you can do donation-based classes. There's lots of outdoor classes that are donation-based in parks and whatnot. There's different places all across town that there's classes that are free or donation-based. You can barter. Say, I'll teach you yoga if you teach me how to cook spaghetti, or like trade for all different kinds of services. You can trade for teaching. You could teach privates to somebody that's a hairdresser and get your hair cut for free. Well, for free because you paid. You're trading services. So You could do that, or you could take cashless payments through a zillion different ways: PayPal, Venmo, Square, Google Wallet, Facebook, Apple Pay. For merchants, there's Apple Pay with a contactless system that we've all seen. There's also the Apple Pay where you can send people money in an iMessage. It's pretty cool now how we can pay one another back without having to go to an ATM and get cash. Like when I was organizing the shuttle van for level 2, some people liked Venmo, other people liked Square, and I was like, okay, fine, I'll set up an account with all of these just so that it's easy for you to pay me for the seat on the bus. So whatever you prefer is whatever you prefer, but there are ways to get paid for your teaching that are simple and don't cost a lot. And if they don't have cash, you could say, oh, you could just PayPal me, blah, blah, blah. You could put up a little sign and donation based and have people donate like that. So there's lots of different options for getting paid as a yoga teacher. Passive revenue streams are a place, like if you think of something that you don't have to actively do, a passive revenue stream, you've created the content, you put it out there. It's kind of like a recording artist getting paid every time that their song is played. You're getting paid every time that your class is favorited or played or purchased or what have you. And all of these different sites, everything from Yoga Download to the Cody app, we're probably all familiar with. It's one of the bigger ones where there's teachers that teach classes and the classes look awesome. The video is shot beautifully. But that's because it's an established thing. It's a big business. But that doesn't mean that you can't teach a video class yourself from your home. Like, there are a lot of people that I would say are yoga famous that started out with like a camcorder on a tripod, 10, 12 years ago. That doesn't mean that you can't start now, because everybody has their own thing, our own juju to bring out into the world. And there are people that want what you've got to offer. There are people that will pay you for the content that you're creating, especially if it's genuine and passionate and it comes from a place. Yeah.
So with the iPhone, I know this is probably a stupid question, but as long as you have battery, can you take an hour video on an iPhone?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Memory though too. If you're doing
Storage and power.
Storage
And power. Yeah. Storage and power, the two. But you can have it plugged into a power source.
Right.
Yeah, you could have it plugged into a charger. Storage is the big issue.
Now, could you plug it in to a laptop and have it act as like kicking it over?
To get the video off of it, what I've done when I record video from a device, like an iPhone device, I tend to put it in Dropbox and then download the Dropbox to my computer.
Could you have that be a direct thing though, so that it's siphoning into Dropbox, so that way you're not even using your hard drive?
You couldn't record to the Dropbox folder.
Okay.
No, it would have to record it locally, and then you could
Still be
move it.
limited by-
Yeah, and then you could move it to Dropbox and then delete it off your local device so that you'd free up the storage again. So there are ways. You could have a YouTube page that you have monetized where there's ads and stuff at the bottom, and depending upon how many page hits, you could get a check every month. It's possible. The people that are yoga famous nowadays, they all started somewhere. Like Adrienne Misher, Yoga with Adrienne. She's based out of Austin, Texas. And if you go back to the way back on her page, you can see that the video didn't look so great and slick and shiny like it does now. But we all got to start somewhere,
There's a lot of this stuff.
Yeah. And like Sadie Nardini's been around for a long time, and some of the audio quality on her beginning classes are just terrible. But the more you do it, the better you get. And why not start now? Get your hands wet. I mean, we've all got the stuff to make this possible with like the proliferation of digital devices that we have. Give it a whirl. Give it a try. Everybody from Dave Farmer to Jason Crandell. These are just some people that I pulled names out of, famous yogis. And they all started with the basics: record, take pictures, put it out there, share. Maybe it will turn into money someday. It's possible, because we all got to eat.
There's not like a way to connect what you have on now to a video that's also recording, right?
Yes. And
so you could have two phones that sync up.
Yes, ma'am. And the blog post that I've got about recording your classes, the bottom one on this page, the record video, I use a free application. I can't remember what it's called now, but I use a free application to take the video from the little tripod camera, my little fake GoPro. I don't remember what it's called. It's like an SJ cam or something, but it was like $50 shipped compared to what the GoPros go for. And it's good enough. It's not super slick and awesome, Like the colors are kind of iffy and it's a little too fisheye looking, but it'll do for now, right? I don't need anything fancier than that for right now. And you can take the video and the audio and use this free application, and I describe exactly step by step how you would sync the two up and how you edit the beginning and edit the end and then process it and share it out so that you can post it to YouTube. So
About how much does each hit on YouTube get? I know it's not a lot.
It's not a lot, and I don't know because I don't monetize any of my stuff, but I know other people that do, and I'm sure there's data out there that shows.
And you don't know options for like a way to have memberships subscribe to a video service?
I'm sure that there are. I didn't dig that deep in my presentation, but
I'm gonna research it.
yeah, I'm sure there are. Like I know that the studio that I used to go to in Austin, they create video and audio classes, and I can buy those through, I think, MindBody Online.
Okay,
Like
so
I can pay,
individual.
and then they give me an unlisted link to a Vimeo page where then I can download the video, or it just does the auto download of the MP3 once I complete the payment, and that's like a merchant back end. But for people like us, we could put stuff on, say, Bandcamp and charge, $2 or $3 so that the person can download the file. Bandcamp is one where you can get paid for content.
Yeah, Patreon.
Yeah, Patreon. You could start a Patreon page if you wanted to take a workshop or something. You could create this content and say, I'll give you, if you give me $20, you'll get 3 audio classes of mine as I'm trying to work towards this class that I want to take on whatever, so that you can get the money to do the thing in the future by giving them the content that you created last week.